Hello, my name is Michael Tardrew and I have built for you a copy of the single mousetrap powered device which was originally designed by Alex Dearman. My design is somewhat different to Alex's. There have been a few changes for which I will go through as we take a look. If we first look at Alex's initial design, which we can see here, he has used a cardboard box, whereas I have used a balsa wood box. My main reason for swapping from the cardboard box to the balsa wood box is because, first of all, I did not have a cardboard box of the correct size or stiffness to be able to do the job, and also because I noticed in Alex's design where he's mounted his bearings to mount into the cardboard box, he's actually mounted the bearings with a press fit into balsa wood. So I thought, well, let's skip that whole piece and that assembly and we'll just make the box out of balsa wood, which worked out quite well. Initially I brought my own bearings from work, as we can see here, which turned out to be not so good as these bearings that I originally mounted into the chassis were way too stiff and did not have enough low drag to be able to carry the distance. I played around with quite a bit using these bearings to no avail. As we can see also, I have 3 mouse traps mounted on the device. This was an attempt to get more power while using the much larger bearings. After many processes of trying to get that to work, I soon came to the conclusion that it just wasn't going to work. At which point I then contacted Alex as to how he got around this problem, and he informed me that the bearings that he had used were so much smaller, and which I was struggling to get, but I was very fortunate that Alex only lives a couple blocks over and he had some spare of these much smaller bearings, which he was quite happy to give me for the process of this demonstration. Give me a sec, I'm just going to pop that back into place. Sadly though, of the 4 bearings that Alex gave me, only 3 worked. One of them had been distorted and so had a lot of friction built up in it and was not able to do the job. So unfortunately, my front right wheel is not running on that bearing because it has more drag than just the axle going through the balsa wood itself. This has meant that sadly my device does not run off of 1 mousetrap, as I needed 2 mousetrap just to get it to move. As we can see, of the 3 I'm only using 2. It almost goes on just 1, but not quite. So overall though, I've stuck as close as I can to his design. We can see it's the basic same principle. He has the mousetrap at the front of the cart. He has a spool on the rear axle, which he uses for gear reduction so that we can get more torque out of it. I have copied the same here. We have the mousetrap on the front of the car, and we have a spool of electrical tape. Alex used masking tape, but I swapped it for electrical tape because once again that was something that I had and didn't have to source. So that's very much the same. The length of the car is the same. My car is a bit narrower. Obviously being made out of balsa wood, I found the chassis a bit stronger. So my payload is still in its original packaging, unlike Alex where he poured his into the vehicle. The other differences are the wheels. As we can see in Alex's design, he has used Coke bottle lids or soft drink lids on either side of the compact discs to act as hubs, whereas we didn't have any in our home as we don't drink soft drink very much. So I once again swapped the Coke bottle lids for balsa wood. They have just been glued straight to the CD, and then I put a nice 6mm hole straight through the middle. These work just as well, so we went with that instead. Overall though, I'm not getting the same sort of distance out of the car as what Alex did. His is obviously, his bearings working makes quite the difference. This design relies very heavily on low friction. So we'll just show the measuring of the payload. This is exactly the same payload that I used for mine. we go, 1.03 kilograms. So I'll just pop the camera down while we put that into the car. Once again, using the triggering mechanism of the mousetrap to be the go button. We can clearly see on the tape measure the 500mm for the start zone clearly measured out. We are starting at 500mm and we have plenty of room at the back, so the car is within the constraints of how big it needs to be. But obviously, of course, when we get to the end, we have to minus 500mm off of the travel distance. The whole building and testing of the device has taken a couple of days because obviously glue takes time to dry, and with certain things not working, like the larger bearings and the larger axles, new wheels had to be made, new axles had to be sourced, new bearings had to be sourced. The process of trying more mousetraps took time. So it has been a bit of a few day experience. But in the end we got there overall. So here we go on the, as I'm calling it, the single powered mousetrap device Mark II, although I probably can't call it the single mouse powered trap device anymore. And here we go. And it rolls quite nicely, and it's just rolled back a little bit, but we are on exactly 5.5 meters, so that means we have traveled a total of 5 meters exactly. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.